just in my interactions with him, just seeing what, how much he embodies uh, Superman, right? How much he embodies the qualities. Like if Superman was a real being, you know, you would hope that he was like David. You would hope you don't get Homelander. You would hope that you get someone who, despite having all this power, is not spoiled, is not touched by any of that, and who is moved and inspired by humanity. And that seems, in my brief experiences with David, that seems to be who he is, and I think that's inspiring to me.
All right, joining me now is an accomplished actor. You have seen him in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, Suicide Squad, and now you can see him in the blockbuster film. Oh, this is one of my favorite characters. This is my favorite character of all time, Superman. A big welcome to Stephen Blackehart. Stephen, welcome to Comic Book Central.
Thank you, for having me.
Thank you for being here. Look, I'm always up for talking about Superman. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, you can tell because everything behind me is Superman. I mean, we're going to get into this. There's so many comic booky superhero things to talk about. We're just as we're going it, we're recording this for somebody watching. We're recording this maybe what is it like maybe a week before the film premieres. Just put us in your mind right now of the the magnitude of it. Like, do you get a sense of it? Are you nervous about it? Are you just like what are the feelings as we're heading into this?
Oh, I'm butterflies from head to toe right now. We are, like you say, we are a week. It's a week from the day we're recording this. So Monday,
Right.
we're going to have the premiere. I'm so nervous. I've been to several big premieres in Hollywood, but this is probably, for me, that's the biggest. And Superman was a childhood idol of mine. So the Christopher Reeves version. And it was one of the earliest going to the theater to see something other than a Disney cartoon. So it's really big for me.
Okay, you answered about three of my questions, I think, in just one
Oh,
sentence. That
sorry.
you're no, that's perfect. You're walking right into it because I kind of wonder. Again, we have so much to talk about, and look, you've been on red carpets before. You've been on Guardians of the Galaxy. You've been on all these things, but there does seem to be a weight with a character that's. I mean, what are they like the top three characters in the world? I think there's like Sherlock Holmes or Superman, and
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Mickey Mouse or something like that. It's like I guess there is a weight to that, but then the excitement as well. I want to jump back a bit though. So, growing up, we grew up in Hell's Kitchen, or were you born
That's
in New
right.
York?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So
Born
you'll
in New
be in a
York.
Daredevil. You'll be in a Daredevil project pretty soon, right?
That would be nice. I went to Catholic school, in Hell's Kitchen, and
Okay.
we were all kind of aware of Matt Murdock and all that. And when I left Hell's Kitchen, everyone would make the Daredevil comments about it. But I was not that into Daredevil when I was a kid. I was into Superman. I was into science fiction. I was into lots of things, but I never really had comic books as a kid because we couldn't afford them. So
Okay. So you knew like the movies. That's what I was wondering when you were growing up, and we'll talk about I think with Florida, I think then London, and we'll talk about some different things. But so growing up, you were aware of the superhero. I just was wondering if you sort of gravitated toward those stories, or if
oh
you
yeah,
just liked sports, or if you like cars, or like what kind. And is it fair to say that you weren't an A plus student growing up? Is that
that is fair to say. Yeah,
okay?
yeah. I
Okay.
was you know uh, excelled
I
early, like
wasn't either,
elementary
by the
school.
way, so I can
Yeah.
say that I wasn't even close. I
I
wasn't
think
even
the
close.
comic books are the refuge of those of us who are, don't have another outlet at school sometimes. But
Yes.
oh, for sure, uh, we didn't have the money for it. I was kind of felt like an outsider at school, and I loved the comics. But in my neighborhood, there was no comic book stores. There was just a sort of a candy store with a spinning rack that would have, yeah, just like that one there. Only about
The
half of it would be
squeaky.
like Casper, the Friendly Ghost, and Richie
Okay.
Rich, Archie.
I've got some Archie and Richie. Hold on here.
Oh,
There
sure.
you go. There's some Richie Rich. There's some
There
Archie
you
for
go.
you. We got
I
it.
saw all of those when I was a kid, but I never, when it came to the superhero stuff, I never had any continuity of it. If I would get one comic book, it would be months before I could get another one. And you know,
Okay.
they kind of drop you in the middle of a story and you don't see how it resolves. So
Right.
that was difficult for me. So it was, but I adored comic books when I was a kid. I just couldn't get my hands on many of them.
Yeah. But you love that aspect of storytelling too.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
okay. So then take us through a little bit of this. So the interest in acting, did it start coming out of high school into that? And like, so how did you get to Florida? How'd you get to London? I mean, I know planes,
Oh,
but
sure.
it's the easy answer. But
Yeah.
um,
Well, it's kind of like you said. I was starting to falter as a student. I was kind of a delinquent. I was considering dropping out, and my family at that time moved to Florida. And my younger sister uh, was very active in in school, and she was in drama class, and she was tasked with the responsibility of keeping me from dropping out, and convinced me to sign up for her drama class because there were some cute girls in there. And that's all I needed
that's
to hear.
such an age-old story, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
like I got into acting because of I get it. Okay.
Yeah. So I,
But what
I
was it about that triggered like, oh, okay, like I can make money doing this, or I'm enjoying that? What was the first? Where did the acting bug bite you? Just beyond the I can
oh
get some
sure.
dates out of this.
Well, very quickly, as soon as I did the very first scene ever in scene class in that drama class, I went up and it was some piece of a Greek tragedy or something. And the very first time I went up and did it, it was sort of like a religious experience for me. It was like the clouds parted and the angels sang, and I felt, and time passed without me realizing it. And I kind of in that moment realized or decided, what have you, that oh, I found a calling in life. That this is, calling to me to have a purpose in life, and that's what really the acting bug has had me since then. 40
Was it
plus years.
sort of just inhabiting, like, so maybe like because you said you grew up and you couldn't afford certain things, but it was like, was it maybe that aspect of I can be whoever I want to be.
Yeah,
I can
it was
jump into another life.
the idea of inhabiting someone else's life and their brain and the way they think, and uh, all the things that kind of go through that, because I was always fascinated by people. You ride the subway in New York and there's so many different things going on and so many different
Yeah.
people's lives going on, and the idea
Yeah.
of that, and also the idea that part of the reason I was sort of discouraged prior to that was nothing seemed like it was all that interesting. And with acting, I felt like I had to learn about so many things to be just a little bit good at it. You have to learn about so many different subjects, about so many different disciplines, about so many different approaches, just to
Yeah.
be the tiniest bit okay at it. And I
Yeah.
found that, like, that challenge, like, oh, that's something that's calling me to be more than just like do one thing and work at a bank or something like that.
Yeah. Didn't you have to learn like sword fighting or something,
Yeah.
or what? Like, was that in London? I guess it would be, but I mean, but was
Well,
that there? Like,
I started out, I did a medieval fair, like a Renaissance fair in
oh,
Florida.
okay. Like people walking around eating the turkey legs and
Yeah.
the whole, right, right, right. Okay.
And I was part of a human chess tournament there. So they had like 6 weeks of combat class before that. But then when I later went to London, they were very serious about that,
Yeah.
about stage combat and especially swordcraft and things like that. And I was lucky enough to find a couple of masters that taught at Lambda where I studied, and
Wow.
I pursued it like I loved it, and I pursued it until I got to all the way to the master's level of swordsmanship there, and it was
So, like,
one of
could
the
you
most.
do that now? Like, could you?
I can. It's been a little while, but I can.
Yeah. Did you get hurt? Like, did you ever get hurt?
I've never, knock wood, I've never been hurt doing that. I've had injuries on sets and stuff before, but never from that.
Okay. What's the craziest injury you've had on set?
Tromeo and Juliet in 1995, I think it was, which is James Gunn's first film.
Yep.
My first day shooting that, I was in a fight scene with the Capulets and the Qs, and Tiffany Shepis, who's known to a lot of people, probably watching your podcast, was one of the people I was fighting with, and accidentally kicked me in the mouth with a steel-tipped high heel boot and split
Whoa.
my lip open. Uh,
Whoa.
Yeah, just pure accident. It was mostly due
Yeah.
to we hadn't been rehearsing on like actual pavement and things like that.
Yeah.
But I got like 13 stitches in my mouth the first day of filming. We had to kind of figure out a way that made sense in the story. Uh,
Okay. Oh, so they worked that. So James worked that in.
yeah, they kind of worked it in where they're just
Okay.
kind of bruisers.
Yeah, because I mean it's independent, low budget, right? So like you're like everybody's doing everything.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, that would make sense that you guys were in there, and it's just like you know what, roll with it.
that's right.
Yeah, welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Um, how did studying under famed acting coach Uta Hagen prepare you for recounting your train wreck of a dating experience on Love Connection?
Oh, you saw that, huh?
I
I don't know.
loved every second of that clip.
They tell me, I don't know if this is true, but I was told by the producers of the show a couple of years later that that was the highest rated episode that they had had in 10 years. You
That
know,
one was,
yeah, because
yeah.
there was such a brawl, and it was much longer than you see in the televised
Oh yeah.
version. They had to cut
Yeah,
it
you
down
two go at it. Yeah,
for
for people
sure.
who don't know, like Love Connection was like this thing. It used to be hosted by Chuck Woolery. Who was the dude that was hosting it when you were?
I can't think of his name right
I
now,
can't
but
think of a name. I forgot it. But yeah, it's like they basically bring out a woman and like she wants to date this dude, and then like it went wrong, and then she ends up with you, and it like went horribly. Did it actually, or like was that acting, or was it like like how much of that
no,
was
there's
you?
yeah, it was pretty much me. It's just
Because you're very New York. It was very
I was
you don't
only
have the accent now. But
no, I've worked very hard to get rid of it now. I mean, you'll see a little bit of it in Superman, but I
yes.
worked very hard to not because the LA crowd doesn't always appreciate the more
Yeah.
fine parts of a New York accent. But no, I at the time we shot that Love Connection episode, or we went on the date, I was only had only moved here about a month previous, and
Okay.
so I was still pretty strongly East Coast,
Yeah.
and also, one thing when you're getting rid of an accent or trying to, you'll find that when you're either drinking or upset, it comes back out, right? And
So
and
that
I
was
think
legit. Like you were really upset. Like
oh,
was real.
the date itself was kind of like it's just annoying and that kind of thing. It was
Yeah.
boring and kind of annoying, but then they set me up and I fell for it. That they told me right before we went on. They're like, her story doesn't line up with yours because we had agreed between us just to say, oh, it's just not for me. This is just
Yeah.
not a good match.
Yeah.
But then they said, oh, she's coming after you, and I'm
Yeah.
sure they
Yeah.
told her the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I started. It got my Irish up, and I was like, steaming backstage. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to say anything until she starts. And as soon as I got the
Yeah.
inclination, like, oh, she's coming, then I'm like,
Yeah.
she's brought a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah. That it's great stuff. I like how many people throw that. I know James Gunn threw it at you at one point on your birthday or
Oh
something like
yeah.
that. I think you posted it. But like how do you kind of look back at that and just go like, yeah, that was pretty cool, or just
It
was
was a lot of fun. It was really
okay.
cool. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned James Gunn. So Romeo and Juliet, 95, 90, I think the film came out in 96. You were shooting in 95, you mentioned.
Right.
Um, so how does that, had you known him before that? Had you
No,
just
I
met him
met
on the
him
set? You
on
were,
that.
okay. Okay.
I met him during the audition process, and
Okay.
I was at the time I was doing. I was a member of this classical repertory theater company on the west side of New York, and was doing like Shakespeare and Ibsen and Strindberg and Shaw and
A lot of stage
Chekhov.
work.
Yeah, and I was interested. I had done a couple of small films, but was interested in doing more. And I saw an ad in Backstage for an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, and so I sent in my materials for it, thinking it's
Sure.
going to be maybe not Zeffirelli, but it was going to be something along those lines. And I was kind of shocked when I got to Troma Studios and I saw all these posters for like Femme Fontaine, Killer Babe for the CIA, and The Toxic
Yeah.
Avenger, and Curse of the Confederate Cannibals, and all this. And I
Yeah.
was I was a little bit like, ooh, I don't know if I want to
This
do
was not
this.
Shakespeare in the Park. Yeah, this was not
No.
Shakespeare in the Park.
So after I had auditioned, James was tasked by Lloyd Kaufman to convince me to do the film, and he got on there and on the phone with me and convinced me to do it, and kind of kept reassuring me that it was going to be okay all through the filming, because I was a snobby, New York actor at the time,
Yeah.
and had to be convinced. But I have more friends from that one project and I've been working for 30 plus years professionally, and I have more friends from that project than all the rest of them put together.
Right. Well, that's the thing. So that's what I wanted to get into, because James basically has this like a cadre of cast and crew that he works with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see that. Like, I just think of like Clint Eastwood back in the '70s. Like he was, similar actors, he's similar
Hmm.
cast, and he sort of built this family of these movies that you watch. And it's like James has done that as well. So that sort
Yeah.
of brought you into the fold at that point. What do you think it is about the cast and crew that he gravitates toward? Like what's the vibe on set? What do you get? Because you've done like a ton of films with them now at this point. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
low budget indies to, I mean, it's Superman. It's as big as it gets.
Sure. Well, when we first sort of became friends, sort of in the aftermath of Tromeo, and we were promoting the film at Cannes, we talked about that something I wanted to do and something he wanted to do, which was to form a troupe of like actors, directors,
Okay.
writers, that cinematographers that were interested in the same kind of things, the same kind of subject matter, and that in the earliest incarnation, it was like, and then we'd take turns, writing something, performing something on the stage, or do a short film or something small, independent, and it would kind of, everybody would kind of feed into each other, like the Atlantic Theater Company, like a lot. There's some other, like the group theater and things like that. Uh, and it kind of morphed over time into this group of people that now includes quite a few people,
Yeah.
that just kind of get James's writing and get
Hmm.
and kind of are the kind of actors that he admires. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about great people like Michael Rooker and so forth that we admired for quite some time before he ever worked with him. Uh,
Right.
and on set, what that gives is this unbelievable level of trust, because and you have to have that when you're doing some stuff that can seem, goofy or kind
Hmm.
of out there or over the top sometimes if it's in the wrong hands.
Right.
But when you have the trust that I know it's going to be shot right, I know it's going to be handled right, I know the other actors are going to be there and not leave me out on a ledge like I'm the crazy one here.
Hmm.
Uh, it makes shooting these enormous projects much easier when you know what you're going to get. It makes marketing them and enjoying them, whether they are great successes or not so much. It makes everything better afterwards. That you had this experience together. And it's for James, as he's told me before, it's like it's nice to succeed, but it's nice to share in the success,
Hmm.
and that makes life sweeter.
You get that. And I think it probably helps too, knowing that you're going to see these fellow actors on another project very soon. So if they mess you up on one, it's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to see, I'm probably going to see him in about a year or so. So it's like
Yeah.
everybody on their best behavior. And I think that's the thing too, is like with his writing and everything that they develop, it's just this character development. And it's almost
Hmm.
like everybody's a character actor in
Yeah.
in these things. And everybody, like you said, just inhabits that. Um, is there a certain approach that you have when you go in? Because I know some of these roles are, blink and you miss it, or some of it's like very super duper memorable, and it's just like when you go to work on one of these films, is there an approach that you take that you've learned from your background in all these different acting classes and studying with these unbelievable talents?
Well, the old Olivier expression that there are no small parts, right? It might
Just
end up being a small part in the end, but you prepare for this thing that's going to be on there for 7 seconds the same way you prepare if you're in the every scene of the movie. And
right.
so you like to know what the every bit of the backstory is and what their relationships are with the other people, at least the things that are going to be pertinent on screen.
Hmm.
And and some of them are small, but like they were bigger at some point and were edited into being smaller.
The studio
Yeah,
comes in and it's like, yeah, you got to knock 20 minutes out of this or something. Yeah.
yeah. But so you go in, and with James, it's sort of like there's the script, and that's the kind of the thing that we are aiming at doing perfectly. But you also got to be ready to improvise and roll with things. when James encourages that. And that's something, if you don't know your character, if you don't know your backstory, if you don't know who this person is and what that relationship is, you're going to have an empty tank when they say, hey, say some more about that, whatever, or keep going until I tell you to
Oh,
stop,
how terrifying would that be if you hadn't prepared? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everybody's watching for you to. Have you done something on set that was improvised? Like, given that example, have you done something that you were so proud, like actually made it in, or that maybe even just advanced the story in a different way, or something like that?
You'll see some things in Superman. That's probably the
Yeah,
most
one day. I know you
obvious.
can't tell us anything, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I got a feeling like something between you and Nicholas, maybe like.
We spent a good deal of time yelling at each other in the Luther Corp headquarters. So
Wow. So
peak
something that
experience.
we're gonna see you improvised or
Oh, sure. A little bit
wow.
here and there,
Okay.
and a lot of our early stuff with James and I, we did the Trauma Studios used to have a television show called Tromaville Cafe,
Hmm.
and there were a bunch of sketches and things like that that wrapped around their different movies that they would show, mostly in Europe. And
Okay.
just James and I improvising together and kind of batting ideas back and forth. We came up with a lot of stuff. We did. You can see on my Instagram, like there's this whole through line of Felix the French trickster, who's like this, you know, deranged French playboy, and the zombie, the Curse of the Undead Zombies or something like that. There's a bunch of things like that.
Yeah.
We did a lot of improvising and doing sketches and just kind of being as crazy as we could possibly be. And we made a movie together with his former wife Jenna Fisher called Lolly Love, which is mostly based around improv as well. It was the first thing I
Okay.
ever produced.
Well, isn't that the familiarity too that you have? But when the similar cast and crew are working together, that you sort of know you could feed off of something, or maybe somebody's. If I say this, they're going to do this. There's almost that familiarity. Like I just think of like Saturday Night Live casts or SCTV casts or something like that, where they can just sort of bounce off each other like that.
Yeah, if you know that that's a pro on the other side of what you're doing, then
Yeah,
you can throw just about anything at them, because
yeah,
it's going to get picked up and yes and take it to the next level and the next level. That's like dancing with somebody who really knows how to dance. That's like it becomes so much fun,
yeah.
and you end
Do
up with
you
great stuff that way.
James always goes for these deep cuts on the like now that there's like all this comic booky stuff. So you get the Marvel stuff, you got the DC stuff. Well, it's all the DC stuff now. He's running everything there. But like
Oh
he
yeah.
always does these like deep cuts into the comics. I know you said you love comic books. Do you and your friends and fellow castmates and things like do you start now digging through like old comic books and go, "Oh, it would be a really cool character," and then you text him maybe. I don't know. That's like a fanboy question, but it's
Yeah.
like, do you guys do
Well,
that like on the side or like here's some songs you should put in on the soundtrack or
I
something?
think he's probably had his fill of people sending him suggestions, because he
I
gets
know. I get.
bombarded with it all the time. But every now and then something comes up where there's it just in conversation,
Yeah.
But he is, I've never met anybody with such an encyclopedic brain about comics, about all comics. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, you know, gratuitous sort of promotion for him here, but I think that the world is lucky that someone finally in charge of things. Not, I mean, Kevin Feige's great, but I'm talking about like for DC, somebody in charge who
Hmm.
is a legitimate through and through fan. That if he wasn't doing this, he would still be reading everything that came out, cover to cover, and really
Yeah.
appreciating like the work of these great writers and inkers and drawers, and he's an amazing guy with that encyclopedic, and he's always, just like Guardians of the Galaxy are sort of, as individuals, they're sort of misfits. He's always been drawn uh, to those misfit
Hmm.
characters that in the comics, right? The story may be Wonder Woman, but he's interested in this. Who is this third person over there that just sort of pops in every 3 or 4 panels, and
Right.
he's like, I'm interested in who that is. Everybody knows
Right.
Wonder Woman. Then what about her? You know,
I
and
think
I
it's so
think
cool
that's
because oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing is for me and us, this ragamuffin group of a troupe that we have. I mean, we're kind of the outcasts and the the fringe characters in life, and so he's drawn to us as well, which is a blessing for me.
That's the cool thing because a lot of these comic books, it's like I know there's I know the whole Snyderverse and different things like that, but it's just like, I come from an era where I liked fun comic books and I like the silly comic books and I like
Hmm.
the escape for a little while, not necessarily the dark kind of stuff. I mean, there's an audience for both. I get it.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of people are like that. And so when you tap into like these obscure characters who like teamed up for no reason, or all of a sudden you bring a flying dog in, I
Yeah.
like I said, as soon as I saw crypto, I'm like, take all my money, like take all my money, because it was like I don't even care. It's just this silly 60s, 70s kind
Hmm.
of vibe, and even the songs. I mean, in Guardians, like tapping into the 70s real hard. I think Peacemaker was one of them that you did the voice. Was it just the voice, or did you get to like? It's a gorilla. It's a CGI
Yeah,
gorilla.
yeah.
Did you
I'm
get to
just the
do any?
voice. I would have
Okay,
loved to have done the no. There's a stunt person doing in that, and it
yeah.
then got replaced with CG, and I was just brought in for to do the
Okay.
voice. Yeah,
Because that was the weird thing. It's like, I think if I'm correct, it's like Charlie the Gorilla. It was 1966's Star Spangled War Stories. There was a
that's
combat. Is
right.
that
That's the
right?
one. Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
like the only one appearance, and all of a
Hmm.
sudden,
Yeah,
it's on your resume now. That's
yeah.
ridiculous.
I
These
love it
deep cut.
though.
Oh, I just a couple quick hits. Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, so volume. Correct me if I'm wrong. Volume 1 and volume 3, and the holiday special. So
Right,
it was originally the Nowhere Dispatcher. Didn't have a
right.
name in the first one, and then it's did James make this up? Steamy Blue Liver
Yeah,
or
yeah.
okay. That's not from the
Yeah.
comic books though, right?
No, he made it up, which is why there's no action figures or anything because Marvel doesn't make any money off
No, I don't you're not
off
on
of.
the t-shirt. I don't have any
Yeah,
t-shirts with you.
yeah.
Where did the name come from? Do you know like what did you guys
It's a
talk
play on my
about?
own name. Like my nickname's Stevie. It's what everybody calls me, and my
Oh,
last name is
okay.
Blackehart. So he just thought it was hilarious that it's Steamy
Got
Blue
it.
River.
How did I not catch that? That's
Yeah,
yeah, okay. Well,
yeah.
that one went right over mine.
It's
And
all
then
right.
volume
You know,
2, you're one of the Ravagers Brawl.
Brawl
So
the Ravager.
yeah, so you Steamy Blue Liver, but then full prosthetics,
Yeah.
the whole thing. Do you? I know I've talked to like Star Trek guy, and you've been in Star Trek
Hmm.
different episodes and things like that. But in Orville, I think you went full
Yeah.
prosthetics
Hmm.
in that. I've talked to like Star Trek actors, and they're like sometimes you get these giant costumes on, and you get like the full mask, and then you inhabit the character. Do you want Steven's face to be seen? Do you like hiding behind the prosthetics? Do you care one way or the other? Does one help your performance? I don't know. Like, take us inside the
Well,
mind of the
I
actor
like
on that
both,
one.
but I do find, as to get my career somewhere, so I get the next job. You want your face to show, of course.
That's fair.
But I don't care about the fame stuff. I just care about getting to the next job, right? But
Okay.
as far as getting into the character, I found like with Brawl and with some of these characters where there's a lot of prosthetics and makeup, like what it's 4 hours getting into that stuff. And when you're
Yeah.
doing that, you find yourself like in the innermost parts of that alien, that person Brawl. It was kind of very loosely sketched out in the comics. He's one of the minions
Mhm.
of Menace and all that, but he's kind of maybe a little two dimensional. And it's like I start seeing as you're going through this process, day after day after day, like this is the kind of planet that what life is like on his planet. This is why he left there to join up with space pirates. This is why it's appealing
Okay.
to him. And you really start to just little details and a little scar. What's the story behind that scar? And he's got a tattoo that kind of goes across his eye. He's got an earring made out of human hair. What are the stories behind that? And you find each of those is sort of like a path into that character's soul, I think, and I
Okay.
do find that that's helpful. It really helps.
Do you provide some of that backstory just as you're going through? Does James give you some of that? Is there things from the comic books that you take, like, or is it just a combo platter?
Well, I look for it is sort of a combo platter. I look through everything I can in the comics to see
Yeah.
because I don't want to go against canon, but
Yeah,
uh,
you'll hear about it if you do.
for sure. And I love canon. I mean, I think sometimes we get too tangled up in it, but I
Yeah.
love canon. It was one of the things that I loved, like when, of the original Star Trek series and Star Wars, that they seem to be sticking to a kind of canon. At least for a while they did.
Right.
But I don't want to go against that. I want to be true to what's been set down before. But where there isn't something set down before and you're free to play, I have to have at least a headcanon about it. And I'll talk with James about it. If he has something that he wants to be a part of it, he'll let me know. But like, the backstory for Brawl was like, he's like, just take it and run with it, whatever you want to do.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's like, if you go too far, I'll pull you back,
Okay.
And
then a little bit more with Steamy, because you got to play him a few times. Was there, I think, because you even got to do some scenes with Kevin Bacon, or at least in the vicinity of it. Because doesn't that go back to your Tromeo and, like, weren't you a henchman, Kevin Bacon's henchman?
In Super. Yeah, in the movie Super.
Or in Super. Sorry, I got it. Yeah, Super. Right.
Yeah, we worked together for like 6 weeks.
Full circle with Kevin Bacon now. Okay, so you get to, okay.
Fantastic guy, by the way.
What was your experience? Oh, okay. What was it like working with Kevin Bacon then on that? Because he seemed to be having a blast.
He seems like he really does have fun with everything that he does.
Yeah.
Occasionally there's some actor you'll meet that's not pleasant or whatever, but I find it's rare. I find that the people who reach the place that they like are genuinely happy and kind, and it comes through in his performances and when he's on screen that he's just a really generous, kind soul. And I learned a lot watching him act, because he never does the same take twice the same way. He comes with a lot prepared, way more than you're ever going to need, and is just ready for anything that could happen. He just knows everything backwards and forwards, and then he can play. And that was a great thing to see as a still somewhat young actor doing Super, 15 years ago or so, 16 years ago. And then seeing him again on the holiday special, it was just a blast. It was so much fun.
Give us the top 3 worst actors you've ever worked. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just kidding.
We'll talk on the side chat.
On the side, yeah. I'm like, favorite moments from the Guardians franchise. I mean, we're talking about the holiday special, all 3. I mean, like, just it could be behind the scenes, could be in front of the camera, anything. Just what's your favorite moment or favorite moments?
I think being able to do a lot of more stuff with Steamy on the third one was, and to interact more with the cast to make more of a difference in the plot. That was my favorite, because it was always something that was sort of, I was part of the readings, the auditions for the original Guardians. I was a reader, and a scene partner when they were trying out all the different Star Lords and things like that. I played Drax in the prison scene with Gamora and Drax and Star-Lord when we were auditioning a lot of people. And I remember James told me later that the Marvel execs there were like, Stevie's really good. We should find something for him. And he's like, oh, we'll find something for him. But, he just really gets my writing, And it just started out with that little, I think I'm in the first one for like 7 or 8 seconds or something like that. But it was fun, and it eventually kind of flowered in the third one, which was really nice for me. And that's to see that come, to get the script for the third one and see that I was a bit more involved. That made my heart sing. That was fantastic.
Well, that's the cool thing, is he just keeps bringing people in, and you never know when it's going to be like that super cool role that is going to steal scenes from, like, the number one on the call sheet or something like that. So, and you've got that in your DNA. Let's see. We talked about Peacemaker. We talked Suicide Squad. Anything?
There was originally a bigger part that we had to cut down because of the movie
helicopter pilot Briscoe coming in. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And there's originally a much longer, more involved. It was much more akin to Saving Private Ryan at the beginning of that movie, where it's
really
long invasion beach battle, and Briscoe is, fighting and stuff, and I think the helicopter gets blown up at some point, and there's a lot of back and forth, but it was just too much to get into the movie when those, especially that original set of characters, mostly dead, and then you're going to follow the John Cena.
Right.
So that got trimmed down to just, I think I'm in 1 second of that.
Were those shot and deleted scenes, or those were never shot?
No, they were shot.
Okay, because I'm trying to remember. I don't think I've seen the deleted scenes from it. Did they make it into the?
I don't know if I have that DVD. If I've seen, I don't know if they included. There's a lot of times when there's deleted scenes that don't make it onto the disc or
Yeah.
whatever,
Somebody can post it in the comments. I'm sure like 8,000 nerds are yelling at me right now, just going, "You idiot. Like, go watch. Go watch. Of course it's there." So they can post them in the comments.
It
And
wasn't a huge part, but it was bigger than it ended up being. Yeah, it would
well,
have been
talk
nice.
about a much bigger part. I'm guessing, I don't know. I haven't seen the film yet. Sidney Happerson?
Oh yeah, he's a bit bigger, and has
Okay.
kind of what an actor wants is to have a character that at least impacts the plot in some way. At least has something to
Yes.
do with it. That you don't want, if you took him out, you don't want it to have made no difference. So
Yeah.
Sydney's a bit more involved, and it's my most involved in one of the James big projects to date.
Yeah.
So
Top
it's
scientist, Lex Luthor's assistant. We can say that, right?
yeah he.
First appearance. Do you have
Oh
this
wow, you
comic
have
book?
it. Look
Do
at
you
that.
have
Yeah,
this comic book? It's
I don't
Superman
have that.
Volume 2, number 2.
I've been looking for it, but I haven't got it
Okay.
yet.
Well,
That's amazing.
right here it is. Right here it
All
is. You
right.
got to get, somebody's got to get you one. James didn't get you this. Come on.
Maybe for the
You got to get
premiere.
on it.
Yeah, Sydney is a theoretical physicist and biochemical engineer who was in our he was Lex's college professor, and it later came to work for Lex Corp
Yeah.
or Luthor Corp. I beg your pardon,
Mm-hmm.
and is like his right hand man at Luthor
Mm-hmm.
Corp. It's kind of you'll see a number of different technologies in the movie that Lex and Sydney have come up with, and they kind of have a very almost like big brother little brother relationship where it's kind of contentious, but they love each other.
Yeah. You say technology. Are these weapons? Because I think he develops weapons in the comics, I believe, if I'm not
Sydney
mistaken.
does. In the comics, he is really good with cloning.
Mm-hmm.
He's good
Mm-hmm.
with. Uh, there's a storyline where he clones Lex when he's got kryptonite poisoning, and
Mm-hmm.
he and Dabney Donovan transplant Lex's alien brain into a new body, and he's got red hair and all that.
Man,
Yeah, yeah.
dude's done his homework. You've done your homework, my
Oh
friend.
yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
like to know him. And then he also there's a lot of kind of logistical things in the comics that he does. In my head canon, at least, Sydney in this version of Sydney is sort of a combination of Happerson and traits of Dabney Donovan. So there's a little bit of the high tech stuff. You're going to see some stuff. You've seen little glimpses in the trailer of some of the tech
Yep.
that Lex uses to kind of get an advantage on Superman. And Sydney is a big part of that. They're Lex is probably he's one of the smartest men on earth, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
Sydney's just like maybe one notch down from that, but they complement
I,
each other very nicely.
I think it's always a thing with we say supervillains. Obviously, I mean Lex Luthor is a supervillain. I mean we say,
Mm-hmm.
but for the actor playing Lex Luthor, it's like
Yeah,
somebody like they can't play them as the villain. I've talked to a lot of villains. They're like, I can't play him as the actors are like, I can't play him as a villain. I got to play him as misunderstood or like he's
yeah.
trying to do the best. So for Sydney, misunderstood or villain, can you say anything like?
Oh, he's misunderstood. He
Okay,
and Lex and
of
most of
course
the
he
Luthor
is.
Corps guys, they are anti-metahuman, which is almost you could say it's sort of a parallel to being racist, but
Interesting take.
they look at it as, and Sydney looks at it as, even if one of these metas is well intentioned, you see in the trailer, they're destroying buildings, they're destroying property, people get hurt, people
Right,
get killed,
right,
that perfectly good humans are completely helpless against these
right.
people with powers and
There's a little
aliens.
girl right there, and a building's falling on her, and
Yeah,
Superman has to. Right, right, right,
this guy isn't even from here. So even though he means well, we're not idiots, we can see that he means well, right?
right,
But he's still causing chaos all over the
right,
place, and that is something we want to get rid of in the world. Like, the world is hard enough,
right.
to get through Monday to Friday without having
Okay.
these morons, in spandex running around, tipping over buildings and collapsing bridges and starting wars and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, because we see some of that with Lois Lane and Clark slash Super, when they're talking at the beginning of the trailer and some of the scenes we see where they're going. Yeah, there's a lot of conflict in this. Can you talk about how what James told you in approaching the character? I mean, again, if there's things you can't say, we get it. But
Yeah.
was there a little something he gave you? Because he was very happy to post that screenshot
Oh
of
yeah.
you
Really
the
nice
other
of him to
day.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like he gave me a lot of leeway in the creation of Sydney, such as it is. When the very first uh, drafts that I saw, he was kind of just sort of mumbly mouthed and kind of grousing in the corner, sort of uh, curmudgeon of Luther Corp, and then we kind of tried different ways approaching it, and found a sort of a different, more boisterous, loudmouthed scientist approach to it, and I find that is really much more in line with some of the people you see say online today ranting about whatever their favorite cause du jour is, uh,
Okay.
and as soon as I kind of I told James when I got there, like, I have this idea that I'm basing him around. There's an actual physicist uh, that that's a kind of a New Yorker, and uh, Leonard Susskind, and then there's a bodybuilder named Mike Menser from the '80s, and there's these other characters that I'm like, I think that he's got bits of all that. I'm like, will you give me a little? Can I try something? And he
Wow.
said,
Anyone go for it.
yeah, you could try it. Well, let's see. And then I tried it, and I was
I love
trying
that
it.
answer. That yeah, we'll see if it makes it.
Yeah, yeah. Like, it's not going to run over anything else I'm doing, but we can try it and see. And
Right.
then I tried it at, like, I don't know, scale 1 to 10. I tried it at like a 4 or 5, and he's like, "Oh, I like that." He's like, "Take that
Okay.
to a 10, and we're in business."
Oh.
You
Okay.
know. And
Did
so
any of Stephen Blackehart from Love Connection come in?
you're going to find some parallels, because this Sidney Happerson in my headcanon is also, he's from Gotham. He lives in Metropolis, but he's from Gotham, and so
Oh, that's like being
you'll
from Hell's
find that the
Kitchen.
accent is, he's not from the same neighborhood as the Penguin, say, in that
Right,
series.
right,
That's Elseworlds, but
right.
he is from a poor neighborhood in Gotham, and raised
Wow.
himself up by his bootstraps. And so he's kind of he's one of the smartest people in the world, but he speaks like very gutturally.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and you have done your homework, man. That is really good. Have you worked with Nicholas Holt before? I'm trying to recall.
Never. I met him
I
on
don't think
this.
so. Right. Okay. How
One
did
of the sweetest
you
humans on the
you
planet, by the way.
say that again? I'm sorry.
One of the sweetest humans on the planet. Really nice
That's
guy.
always the case, isn't it? Like the
Yeah,
craziest villains, like the worst villain, like they're played by like the nicest guys in the world, and they have to like
yeah.
turn that weird part of themselves on to like, and then like, but and cut, and then like, is he back to Nicholas again, or did he try to
Yeah.
keep?
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
all right,
Yeah, I find him, he's a little bit shy. He's really
wow,
nice. He's so well mannered and so well raised, and
yeah,
but when it's work, and it's like
yeah.
every take I can see him like going, okay, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to do that, stuff like that. It's like, and then he's ready,
Did you
super
rehearse?
professional.
Did you guys rehearse together at all, or do you
Not
just sort of hit
before.
and go?
We would rehearse like once for the camera, or so, or to get something
Right.
blocking down, but not like before production, right? Because he
Okay, you
would,
guys aren't sitting in over by craft services and like working scenes or something like that.
no, he was like,
Okay.
it was kind of, I think that James would whisper some stuff to him, and then separately whisper some stuff to my ear, or whoever. And it's like, he trusts us both to know that, like, it's okay to surprise each other a little bit. I know the other one's going to roll with it.
Okay. Did he do anything or did you do anything that was like, oh, wasn't ready for that, but I'm gonna roll with it? Like, I know you can't
Uh,
tell specifically, but did
that I
that sort of
probably would be giving something away if
okay, that's fair. That's fair. Working with David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan. Like just did you get to do any scenes with them?
A little
A
bit with
little bit?
David. A little bit with
Okay.
David. I met Rachel, and she's super nice,
Yeah.
when we were shooting the parts in Cleveland. But I met David
I
a
was
little
gonna
bit
ask if
before
you got
then.
to shoot in Cleveland. I'm in Columbus. So you got to go up to
Oh
Cleveland?
wow! Yes, I did. I got to go to
Great.
Cleveland. I visited
Great.
the Superman house,
Yep.
and got to see a lot of the kind of sites, and where the Schuster and Siegel got their inspiration from. That great Americana, that beautiful. There's
Yeah.
so many parts of it that are just gorgeous.
Sorry
But
to
yeah,
mean to interrupt, but you said about Rachel. Yeah, you were talking about Rachel and
yeah.
David.
So there's for a lot of those exterior stuff, there's a lot of it was sort of disconnected. The Daily Planet crew and the Luther Corp crew and the Justice Gang and things like that were all kind of
Right.
separated and then would come together for very brief little things. But in Cleveland, we all had to shoot our exterior stuff, so we were all here at the same time. So it was
Nice. Oh,
really nice.
wow.
Rachel's super impressive actor and lady and human being and
Yeah.
just like can't say enough about her from the little bit that I've interacted with her. David would when we were shooting stuff that he wasn't even in would come and sit next to James at the monitors and watch the scenes
Okay.
and was kind and nice enough to stop by after I was shooting for the day a couple of times and like just say, hey, that's tell me that he liked the job I was doing and we got just to meet and talk a little bit and again, James has a no a-hole policy, so it's not surprising that such nice people and humble,
Yeah.
and
And that Superman is that guy. Like that's the guy you
yeah,
want to be, Superman. I've talked to actors before, and they say that is such a huge thing because when you're doing, when you flip the camera, and it's just like you're doing different scenes or like you're on a close up or something like that. Sometimes the other actor isn't there. They're like, oh, I'm not on camera. I'm out of here. But
right.
when that actor is there, or even if they're not in the scene, like you said, if he's just hanging
Mhm.
out, that probably gives you a mental you tell me, what does that do for you as an actor mentally,
Well,
just to know that everybody's right there and they're all in on this together?
it shows the him coming to set even when and watching when he's not even involved that day shows me that he cares about every little aspect of the movie. Uh, the fact that he doesn't have to come and say anything to me, much less anybody else.
Mhm.
It shows me his kindness and his good taste. But just in my interactions with him, just seeing what how much he embodies uh, Superman, right? How much he
Wow.
embodies the qualities. Like if Superman was a real being, you
Right.
know, you would
Right.
hope that he was like David. You would
Right.
hope you don't get Homelander. You would hope that you get someone who, despite having
Yeah.
all this power, is not spoiled, is not touched by any of that, and who is moved and inspired by humanity. And that
Yeah.
seems in my brief experiences with David, that seems to be who he is, and I think that's inspiring to me.
You tapped into my last question there because I know everybody that I talk to from this movie is going to praise the movie. That's the easy thing to do, right? Like,
Sure.
oh, it's the best thing ever. And Superman, nobody's going to be like, oh, this was the worst experience I've ever. I get that element of it, but
Mhm.
you've mentioned for me, for many Superman fans like myself, Richard Donner's Superman, the 1978 Superman, the Christopher Reeve Superman. That's the gold standard. We know that. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, everything behind me is that.
Oh
It's
yeah.
you mentioned that, so we know that's a sweet spot for you as well. For the past 20 years, filmmakers have been trying to recapture that magic to certain degrees of success. They've been able
Hmm.
to tap into it. Certain things, maybe not so much. Why do you think? And you've mentioned a little bit of this probably because of David comes into
Yeah.
it. James writing, I get it. But why do you think this one may have tapped into that and found that sweet spot that you kind of gravitate toward? It's so many of us gravitate toward.
Well, I've never met the cast of some the other Superman films, or people
You
who were
will,
involved. Yeah, well, that would be nice. I mean, I'm good friends with Michael Rosenbaum, so I guess
right?
an actor from Smallville. But I mean, the films I've never met
Yeah.
Brandon Routh or Henry Cavill or anybody else like that's part of those casts. But I can say that on this, I think that oftentimes, if you're lucky, the kind of inner being, the soul of the actors kind of comes through the performance. You certainly see some actors who unlikability comes through the screen, right? But I think that in this case, the good nature, the good souls come through there. And I think that the audiences are going to get that. The other thing is I think that I haven't seen the finished film yet. I saw it when it was, back in February, when it was sort of an assembly more than it was a film. And
Okay.
the effects were like 90s video game, like previs, like the preliminary,
Previs,
like,
right.
yeah, placeholders for the
Here's
final
where a
effect.
flying dog would come in. Here's where
Right.
a giant monster would fly. Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
And there's even points there where James has to go, this is what's going to happen here. And this. So
Words
I
pop
haven't
up on the
seen,
screen, right? Yeah.
yeah, when I go to the premiere, it'll be the first time I've seen the film.
Wow.
But what I have seen of it, to me, it's like, uh, it really has this sense of wonder. It
Mm.
really is like being a kid and opening up a toy box with all these action figures from different movies. Like when I was a kid, I had Star Wars figures and Micronauts and
Mhm.
GI Joe and stuff like that to play with, and they're gonna all play together, right? Because that's what you have, and being allowed to go and open the toy box and play with all those was magical when I was a kid. And when I see the movie, even pieces of the movie, it feels like opening the toy box and
Wow.
and playing. And to me, it's just sort of like, you know, it touches my heart.
That's what we want. That's what we want. Yeah, when we pay our money and get our popcorn, that's what we want.
That's
We've been
right.
longing for that for so long. What's next for you? What's got? I know Superman. Yeah, boom. Okay, and that's gonna. Hopefully, you make it to the end credits. I don't know if you do or not, but let's hope you make it to the end credits and have like a bunch of sequels. But what's beyond this for you? What's next?
I have a slasher movie called Stiletto, which I'm waiting to find out how that's getting released, coming
Okay.
out. And we have some kind of irons in the fire with some projects. Uh, was kind of loosely, I was tentatively cast in the Joaquin Phoenix, Todd Haynes movie that got canceled. Uh, uh, but there's still a lot of irons in the fire, like projects that may pop. It really kind of depends on how Superman is received and how
Yeah.
I am received in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, James like has you on speed dial. Like you get the call all the time. So, but there's like, is there like you've been digging through comic books for the last,
Oh, sure.
what, 10, 15, 20 years now? Like
Oh,
what,
yeah.
especially since James is like running everything in DC, is there a character that like, you're like, hey, James, isn't this an awesome comic book? Like, do you do
Yeah.
that? Like, just even, is there one,
Yeah.
like, even if there was one, like, what would be your dream role? Or Marvel. I don't know. Maybe Daredevil. You go to Hell's Kitchen again. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your
They
dream
look
role?
for Jets, right? But listen, I without giving anything away, I would love to play Sidney Happerson for 20 years.
Okay, I know
You
you
know?
already got the role. You got the
Yeah,
gig.
yeah. But if
But like
prior to all this, I was
interview.
like, I was like, you know, Martian Manhunter is pretty cool if you're going to introduce him in
Yeah.
there. I mean,
All right.
I dig a lot of stuff about him, and I think that there's a lot of new ground you could cover with that. But you know, I love all of it.
All right.
I
You'd have
think
to lose your super cool stash though. You'd have to like, yeah.
oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. And I'd have to get into the green goop every day and stuff
I
like
was
that.
gonna say, but we've already established you're a fan of that. That's you. You
Yeah,
do
yeah.
not discount the 4 hour makeup sessions. You know that they're coming.
It's
So,
not always fun, but you end up with some good stuff sometimes with that.
all right, we're looking forward. How can fans follow you on social media? You out there?
I'm at Blackehart, Blackeheart. Looks like it's misspelled, but it's not. I'm on Instagram only, and they're welcome to follow me there. And if I catch you, I can answer DMs and things like that.
We're going to follow you everywhere. We're going to follow you in Superman. We're going to follow you through the DC universe. We know you're going to be a part of it. James Gunn's running everything right now. So,
That
Stephen,
would be nice.
congratulations on becoming part of the Superman mythology. That's huge. And continued
Thank you.
success. And thank you so much for joining me on Comic Book Central.
Thank you so much. You're very kind, and thanks for having me over today.